Congratulations, you've just bought a KICKER KMC5, our top-of-the-line media center. We're going to show you what all the connections are for and how to operate it. At first glance, the connections for the KMC5 look pretty daunting, but in reality it's pretty simple. So let's dig in and figure out how to hook this thing up. The main harness has a 12-volt switched input for red, an orange illumination wire, a blue amplifier trigger output, and a ground wire. It also has 4 speaker outputs at 40 watts by 4 at 2 ohms. The secondary harness is also a powered output from the Class D internal amplifier. This also features 40 watts by 2 at 2 ohms, giving us a total power output for 6 channels, 40 watts per channel at 2 ohms. You also have a video input for a camera, so you have your yellow RCA video camera input, and you have a reverse trigger lead to turn the camera on and off when you put the boat in reverse. The 4-volt RCA outputs consist of a violet zone 2 output, a gray front output, a green rear output, and a red subwoofer output. You have a USB input, an RCA auxiliary input, an NMEA CAN bus input, a Sirius Satellite XM tuner input. You also have full RGB lighting input to control the LEDs on the face of the unit to match up to the other LEDs in your boat, a conventional antenna lead, and you also have a digital and an analog remote input. The analog remote input works great with the KRC12. There are a lot of features with the KMC5, but accessing them and operating the unit is actually very simple. Push and hold the power button for half of a second to turn the unit on. To access the different sources, you'll push the button one more time, use the volume control to dial in which source you would like. You have your choice of FM, AM, weather band, USB, Bluetooth input, auxiliary input, or with the special adapter, you can get your favorite SiriusXM stations. To change the source, press the source button, highlight which of the sources you'd like to select, and push the volume button in. Here we've selected Bluetooth, and if you notice, it will show the album artwork. When you have a Bluetooth source selected, by pressing the menu button will take you into the Bluetooth menu. You can tell the unit to enter pairing mode. You can select previously stored Bluetooth devices. You can disconnect the current device. You can delete the current device, or you can delete all devices. By pressing the favorites button, it'll allow you to access any of the 16 pre-programmed favorites that you have. You can merely select which of the FM, AM, or weather band stations you have programmed into your preset, and access them. Merely push the volume control to access that particular station. Let's try AM 1240. There we go. And if you notice, it will tell you what favorite preset you are on. To program your favorite presets, merely tune the station in you'd like to program, press the favorites button, scroll to which preset number you would like it set at, and push and hold the volume control till you see it appear in the display. Now preset 6 is set to 101.9 FM. Pressing and holding the menu button will take you into the menu. You have a day-night mode menu, a dimmer for the display, a low battery alert to tell you if the battery gets below 10.5 volts, if you have a European or American tuner, how you want the zone 2 to be controlled with the volume control. Do you want it to be controlled with the power of the unit, or do you want it to control the preamp out, or both? You have a high-pass crossover for the speaker outputs. You have a loudness you can turn on and off, and you have a voltmeter which is displayed in the bottom right-hand corner of the display. If I push and hold the volume button, I can now access if I want it on or off. So to change the day-night mode, I'll push the volume control button in. Now I can select what type I want the display. In auto mode, it will take a 12-volt trigger on the back of the unit to put the unit into night mode. You can program it to stay bright all the time or to stay dim all the time. You have your choice. To select the function, merely press the volume control and that function is now selected. If I go to the dimmer, push the button, now I can change the brightness of the display to any setting I would like. Let's go ahead and leave it on 12. Push the back button, battery alert, on or off. Back button, tuner, Zone 2, Do I want it off or on? I can set the control, and I can set the volume. Is it absolute or relative to the volume control on the main output? You can also select the names of the different zones. So if we go to on or off, you can see we can merely select if we want zone 2 on or off. We'll select it on. Let's select the control. Now I want to control the internal power only, which is the 40 watts per channel, the 4-volt preamp output only, or both of them at the same time. I'm going to select it to preamp only. We want the control for the volume absolute or relative to the main source volume. We're going to select relative. Now I can pick what I want that zone 2 to be called. Let's call zone 2 tower. That is your functions for zone 2. Push the back button. Now I have my choice of high pass crossover. Off 50 Hertz, 80 Hertz, or 120 Hertz. Let's leave it off for the moment. Loudness, pretty simple, off or on. Voltmeter, off or on. Let's leave it on. Let's exit out of the setup menu. Let's go back and select, for fun, our Bluetooth source. So turning the volume control will allow you to adjust the volume up or down. Pushing the volume control one more time will give me adjustment for the tower volume. Now I can set this to 30. If you notice, now that it's relative, as I turn the volume on the main up, the volume of the tower also goes up. If I turn it down, the volume on the tower also goes down by the same increments. If we set it to absolute, go back to tuner zone, select it, select absolute, exit out of the setup menu. Now if I turn the volume to 25 on the main source, let's set the volume of the tower to 25. So now they're both set the same. If I turn the volume down on the main output, if you notice the tower volume did not change. That's when it's set to absolute mode. Push the volume control in to hold it to access the subwoofer level control. We'll select it. Now we can turn our sub-level output up or down. If I go back, select bass. Now I can turn the bass up and down. Mid-range, up and down. Treble, up and down. Balance, center, left, or right. Fader, center, front, rear. And the equalizer, we can now turn it on or off, or we have pre-programmed settings. So I can pick any of the pre-programmed settings or no EQ. I can select rock, pop, jazz, or a custom setting. If I select custom and hit the button, now I can select the frequency, 50 Hertz. I can boost or cut 50 Hertz, or any of the other 7 frequencies that you see. So I have 50 Hertz, 125, 250, 500, 1K, 3K, and 8 kilohertz adjustment. So once again, you would push the button to select it, and now you can turn it up or down for a fine tuning of the equalizer settings. The other buttons are very simple. Let's go back to source. Let's select FM. So the buttons on the bottom of the unit are the back button, which takes you out of the menus or back to the previous screen. You have a tuning down, play, pause, and a tuning up. So to tune the station down, I would push the button down once, and you see it's going to search for the next strongest station. If I push up, it's going to search for the next strongest station, tuning upwards. The play pause button, when it's in any of the tuner settings, becomes a mute. So to manually tune it, I'd push the tuning button down for half a second. You see manual appear. Now I can manually tune in the station. Let it set for 2 seconds. It will return automatically back to its automatic seek tuning. To activate the rear view camera from the front of the unit, I would push and hold the favorites button down. If I had a camera connected, now it would show the image of what the camera was seeing. Obviously, we have no camera connected, so you're seeing no signal. The unit also has full RGB LED control, which will light up this perimeter ring around the KMC5. That is the basic operation of the KMC5. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy your unit.